I thought marrying him would be simple, but on our wedding night, the mistress appeared, and everything I thought I knew about this family was turned upside down. I'm just a poor girl. Yet suddenly, I had to claim my place, protect my rights, and survive the chaos. And I won't let anyone, especially her, get in my way. When it came time to discuss the marriage, Mother slid two gung-tai, formal horoscope cards, across the table toward me. One belonged to Zhao Kuo, a poor Jiren, a man who had passed the provincial exam but was still dirt poor, with nothing but bare walls to his name. Yet my elder sister's eyes lit up as if she'd struck gold. I'd choose him. The other card belonged to Lu Zhao, magistrate of Shuntian Prefecture, a solid rank for official and a favorite at court. His only flaw was this: his lawful wife had yet to enter the household, but a concubine had already borne him an eldest illegitimate son, who had just turned 3 this year. I reached out and pressed my fingertip down on Lu Zhao's card. My sister turned her head, her tone dripping with disdain. "You really are hopelessly materialistic, little sister." I smiled and said nothing. Materialistic? In my previous life, I'd been upright and principled. I let a small company feed me empty promises and worked myself like a warhorse. In the end, I collapsed at my desk at 3 in the morning, dead from overwork. After transmigrating into the body of a daughter from a poor but upright, scholarly family, I finally got it. Getting married is just like changing jobs. You have to pick an employer with money and power.
1.
Red candles burned high. It was the wedding night. Wearing a heavy phoenix coronet, I quietly calculated the cost-benefit ratio of this marriage deal in my head. Investment, the status of legal wife, household management skills, and my natal family's pitifully thin official connections. Expected returns, the dignity of being the mistress of the household, long-term financial security, a possible honorary title in the future, and, most importantly, a laid-back life where I'd never have to break my back working again. When Lu Zhao lifted my bridal veil, I looked up and evaluated my business partner. About 27 or 28 years old, deep-set features, dressed in a red robe with a jade belt, tall, straight, and refined. He did have the kind of face that could make young girls' hearts flutter, along with an air of authority shaped by power. Unfortunately, his eyes were far too cold, like a deep pool frozen solid. The ceremonial wine had just been poured and hadn't even reached our hands when hurried footsteps sounded outside the door. "Master, the young lord has suddenly come down with a high fever and won't stop crying. Concubinely begs you to come quickly." The voice was anxious and flustered, overacted, if I had to say. Lu Zhao paused. Holding my wine cup, I waited to see how this seasoned administrator would handle an unexpected crisis. He set the cup down, stood up, turned around, and walked toward the door in one smooth motion. The matron guarding the door panicked, her voice pitching up. "Master, tonight is your wedding night. This really isn't proper." Lu Zhao didn't slow down. He only tossed out a single line. "A human life is at stake. The madam is a reasonable woman, she'll understand." The door opened, then closed. The red candle crackled loudly.
Wow.
First day on the job, and the boss was already asserting dominance. In my past life, when a project manager stole my credit, he wore the exact same face. "You're sensible. You can endure it." I downed the wine in one gulp. The burn made my eyes narrow. As a close aide to the emperor, someone who'd climbed this high, could he really not understand the importance of a wedding night? This wasn't negligence. It was a deliberate warning, laid out in plain sight, reminding me who truly controlled this inner household.
2.
Back when Lu Zhao came to propose, father had disliked the fact that he already had an illegitimate eldest son. He threw out a long list of harsh conditions, along with demands for official favors and Li Yi Zhaohuan, political quid pro quo. Lu Zhao accepted every single one. But in his heart, he must have kept score. The Qiao family was greedy, and the Qiao daughter was surely the sort who'd push every advantage she got. So this scene on the wedding night was his way of putting me in my place. Lu Zhao's concubine and her son were housed in the West Wing, less than 30 steps from my main residence. Chun Tao flushed with anger as she reported. Miss, word came from concubine Li's side. The young lord is seriously ill. Master, probably won't be coming tonight. I was removing my makeup in front of the mirror. Hearing this, I raised a brow. Has a physician been sent for?
Yes.
He's on the way.
Oh.
I answered lightly, tossing the last gold hairpin into the jewelry box. Then let's turn in early. Chun Tao's eyes flew wide open. Miss Yu, you're not angry? I lay down under the covers. Getting angry is just giving energy to your opponent. But concubine Li is obviously doing this on purpose. I can tell. I close my eyes. Basic green tea tactics. Use a child to manufacture a crisis, seize the boss's attention, and suppress the newcomer at the same time. I'd seen it plenty in my last life. 3. Early the next morning, I went to pay my respects to the old madam, as protocol required. Madame Zhou took the tea from me and cast a sidelong glance my way. I've heard about what happened last night. Jar is at fault too. He was overly concerned with that side. I lowered my eyes. A child falling ill is no small matter. It's only natural for my lord to be anxious. She looked a little surprised and studied me for a moment. Her tone softened. You're a sensible one. Sensible?
No.
I was just calculating some costs. If I made a scene, what would I gain? A bit of sympathy? A few words of fairness? And then what? Tear things apart with Lu Zhao completely, turning this cooperative marriage into open hostility? Not worth it. As for Lu Zhao's show of dominance, rule number 1 of seasoned workplace veterans, don't mistake the boss's attitude for personality. It's just a management tactic. As long as the pay is right, I can treat it as corporate culture. But accepting it doesn't mean lying down and letting myself be trampled. I dressed carefully, not in festive crimson, but in a darker wine purple, steady and dignified, befitting the lady of the house. Taking Chun Tao's hand, I left Madame Zhou's quarters. Out the door, a right turn, then a dozen steps along the covered corridor. The door to the west wing wasn't fully shut. Light spilled out, along with a voice that twisted and turned like a winding mountain road. My lord, I truly didn't mean to put you in such a difficult position. It's just that Hua suddenly developed a fever, and I panicked. The madam has only just entered the household. If she knew you cared for our mother and sons so much, would she think I lack propriety and in the future be unable to tolerate us? I stood at the doorway, nearly clapping. A textbook green tea monologue. Emotion on point, pacing flawless, and plenty of room left to shift the blame. I pushed the door open. Right on cue, I saw Lady Li leaning bonelessly against Lu Zhao, delicate and fragile. His hand rested on her shoulder as he murmured softly, "Don't worry. I'm here." The scene was so warm it looked like a promotional poster for a family drama. I coughed loudly. They sprang apart at once. Lady Li's eyes reddened instantly as she shrank behind Lu Zhao. He looked up at me. The trace of warmth on his face froze into shards of ice. "Madam Qiao, you've barely entered the household, and you're already eager to exercise your authority as the legal wife?" I rolled my eyes. Truly, I couldn't help it. "Lord Lu," I said, pulling over a chair and sitting down, pouring myself a cup of cold tea. "There are no outsiders here. Let's speak frankly." His brows knit slightly. He probably wasn't used to a lawful wife who refused to follow the script. I took a sip of tea. The Qiao family and the Lu family both come from humble backgrounds. Neither of us has deep roots in officialdom. This marriage, if we work together, we both win. If we fight, we both lose. You came to propose because you believed you could keep the Qiao family in check. Isn't that right? Something flickered in his gaze. My father does think highly of your future, I continued calmly. But he was also uncomfortable with the fact that you produced an illegitimate eldest son before marriage. That's why he demanded double the betrothal gifts and certain benefits on the official side. I spread my hands. The intention was to discourage you. Who knew you'd accept everything? I set the cup down and smiled with perfect sincerity. As for me, I'm straightforward. This marriage, at its core, is a partnership. You provide resources, the status of the legal wife, dignity as the household matriarch, control of the inner quarters, and possibly an honorary title in the future. I provide capability, managing the household, handling social obligations, producing legitimate heirs, and the Qiao family's modest connections. Lu Zhao fell silent, watching me, clearly reassessing. As for last night, I went on. Out of consideration for the sincerity you showed when you sought my hand, I let it slide. One marriage had lifted me from absolute poverty to a woman with assets. Compared to that, nothing was truly intolerable. I looked straight at him, my tone calm, a storm beneath the surface. But I don't want there to be a next time. Lady Li spoke timidly from the side. Madam, I don't quite understand what you mean. I glanced at her.
You don't need to understand.
Just remember this. Don't add extra burdens to me. Then I turned back to Lu Zhao. My sincerity is on the table. As long as Lady Li and the eldest son behave themselves, I'll be a competent mistress of the house. All the dignity due to them will be given. But the prerequisite is, I stressed each word, slowly and clearly. Do not touch my core interests. Lu Zhao finally spoke, his voice unreadable. And what are your core interests? The authority of the legal wife. Peace in the inner household. I pointed to myself. And my own comfortable life. Whoever makes my life uncomfortable, I'll make sure theirs isn't easy either. With a thud, Lady Li dropped to her knees. Tears fell instantly. Madam, please see clearly. I would never dare. Last night truly was because Howard fell ill so suddenly. I panicked and disturbed my lord. I never intended to trouble you. Back to brewing tea again. I sighed. Lady Li, that explanation doesn't hold up in the eyes of anyone who understands. She choked, unable to respond. I looked to Lu Zhao. Lord Lu, we're all sensible people. Only when the inner household is stable can you focus on your career at court. I'm willing to play the role of a virtuous and magnanimous wife. But if your concubine continues to stir up internal strife and drain management resources. I paused, smiling gently. I won't mind exercising my authority as legal wife. For example, sending her to the countryside estate to recuperate, or arranging a stay in a Buddhist hall to cultivate her character. Lady Li's face went deathly pale. Lu Zhao remained silent for a long moment. Then he let out a very soft chuckle.
Fine.
As you wish. I stood up. Then shall we consider our partnership officially launched? He nodded. As long as you treat Lady Li and Howard well, the dignity owed to you, I will provide. Straightforward. I dipped into a polite curtsy. Then I'll return and wait for the cooperation funds to be delivered. Rule number 1 of the workplace. Accept imperfections in the position and focus on the core returns. Last night's storm in the inner quarters has settled, but the chess game of power and influence is far from over. As our heroine returns to her quarters, she has to navigate both strategy and emotion, balancing authority, alliances, and the subtleties of human ambition. What unfolds next is a careful negotiation of control and respect, where every word is part of the deal.
4.
Back in the main quarters, Chun Tao's face was flushed with excitement. Miss, you're incredible. In just a few words, you've taken control of the situation. I collapsed onto the couch and kicked off my shoes.
No.
I was just helping Lord Lu do the math. Do the math? The value calculation of keeping the inner household stable, I said lightly. He's smart. He knows when to protect feelings and when to protect interests. So, does that mean Lady Li will behave from now on? I smiled. Green tea tactics work because the player always believes her own cup of tea is unique. Soon enough, Lu Zhao entered, followed by Lady Li. Lu Zhao looked at me and said, "You are the household matriarch. By tradition, concubines must offer tea to the legal wife." But Lady Li had already knelt, holding the tea with both hands, her posture respectful. I guess Lu Zhao had already made his point. Whether in offering tea or how she responded, she no longer dared to be casual. I sipped the tea, rewarded her with a gold hairpin, and gave a few instructions, considered the matter politely settled. As for the illegitimate son, still sick, he couldn't come, so no greeting was necessary. After Lady Li left, Lu Zhao had a brocade box presented. The housekeeper's ledgers, keys to the account books, he placed the box on the table, and the deeds for the shops, farmland, and estate, your startup funds. I opened it. Gold glittered from within. Very satisfying. You keep your word, Lord Lu. I tucked the box away. Pleasure doing business with you. Lu Zhao didn't leave. Instead, he sat down. Madam. You said just now that our marriage is a partnership. He looked at me, eyes deep. What is the goal? I thought for a moment. Your career flourishes, I enjoy security. You maintain the inner household without worry, I live comfortably. And beyond that? Beyond that? I raised an eyebrow. He leaned closer, candlelight flickering across his face. For example, a legitimate heir? KPI incoming. I straightened, putting on a professional smile. I'd say we've only reached an initial agreement. I pointed toward the West Wing. As for a legitimate son, no rush. Lord Lu already has an eldest illegitimate son. The Lu family line is secured. When the inner household stabilizes, I'll consider advancing further cooperation. I looked at him, smiling sweetly. No need to rush. He remained silent, eyes like a deep pool. After a long moment, he let out a soft laugh. Every word from you is conditional. Naturally, I met his gaze calmly. No matter how close a relationship, nothing surpasses interests. Even the strongest feelings require a framework of mutual benefit. Lu Zhao's face showed thoughtful reflection. I continued, Lord Lu, I am aware of your past connection with Lady Li. I've heard of it. Your bond with her is strong, I'll honor it. Lady Li and Lu Zhao had been childhood sweethearts. Later, her family fell from grace, exiled, and she ended up in a brothel. Lu Zhao paid a price to redeem her. At the time, he was handling covert affairs and had crossed powerful families, nearly assassinated. Lady Li had taken a knife for him. Childhood friendship and life-saving debt. Though she could never be the legal wife, her position in the Lu household was rock solid. Lu Zhao's devotion to emotion was a double-edged sword for me. On the bright side, a man who values loyalty is better than one who is heartless. The air was slightly tense. He gradually hid his smile. You seem well-informed, madam. Once inside the Lu household, one ought to know the foundation, I said, fanning myself lightly. After a long pause, he finally stood. Rest assured, madam, you are my wife. Lady Li will never overstep you. I gave a small, knowing smile. No need to remind me. Logically, you should be instructing Lady Li. His gaze shifted toward me. I smiled lightly. You've already sacrificed much for Lady Li's future, so it's only right to tell her. If she wants a good life, she must see reality clearly. Challenging the matriarch never ends well. Rule number 2 of the workplace. When facing a boss's difficult moves, avoid confrontation unless core interests are at stake. Lu Zhao glanced at me. You speak wisely, madam. His jaw twitched slightly. Little Howard isn't well yet. I'll stay with Lady Li tonight. His gaze flickered toward me briefly. I replied casually, keeping my smile. You have the heart of a caring father. Lu Zhao said nothing and left.
The door closed.
Chun Tao looked worried. Miss, doesn't this push the master away? I leaned back on the couch. Silly child. A man's instinct is to chase fame and fortune. His ambition is his nature. Women love. They are just pastimes in a man's life. But if he isn't affectionate, authority is enough. I pointed to the box on the table. That is the foundation for a woman's position. Affection is fleeting. Power is the anchor. Lu Zhao married me to secure the Qiao family's good reputation and to easily manage both his childhood sweetheart and the illegitimate son while also maintaining mutual support in officialdom, a finely tuned calculation. Chun Tao frowned. If the master really doesn't come, then it's a question of who endures longer.
5.
Lu Zhao worked late in the study and eventually came to my room. I had Chun Tao open the door and let him in. I looked at him with a faint, teasing smile. Master, little Hauer is still unwell. Aren't you going to stay with him? In the candlelight, I couldn't see his expression clearly, only the depth of his eyes. Hauer is being cared for by Lady Li, he said, his tone a little displeased. Last night was my fault. I apologize to you. And his apology was coming to sleep with me?
Ha.
No thanks. I'm not feeling well. I'm afraid I won't be able to attend to you, Master. You should go to Lady Li instead. If I let him sleep with me, it would be utterly humiliating. Lu Zhao froze mid-undressing, his eyes on me, a mix of surprise and simmering anger. But he's cunning. Even though I angered him by refusing, he didn't lash out. He just gave me a long, deep look. Very well. Then, madam, rest well. I'll go to Lady Li's room. The sound of the closing door carried a faint trace of irritation. Soon after, Lady Li's voice came from the other side, startled and delighted. Master, why are you here again? What if Madam gets angry? You underestimate Madam. She's not petty, came Lu Zhao's reply. Good grief, in the middle of the night. Who is this conversation for? The next day, I saw the return visit gifts prepared by the Lu household. They were 10 times more generous than what my sister had received. I nodded with satisfaction. Early project investment returns, check. The West Wing remained tightly closed. The two overtime workers were probably still catching up on sleep. When I went to the main house to pay respects, Madame Zhou's gaze had shifted from yesterday's mild reproach to cold disappointment. She sipped her tea slowly, words sharp as needles. A woman must be gentle at her core. Being too rigid invites breaking. I lowered my eyes respectfully. Mother's teaching is wise. Yet a man establishing himself must also shoulder responsibility. When Master arrives, please do remind him as well. Madame Zhou's expression darkened. Just then, Lu Zhao arrived, Lady Li trailing behind. He glanced casually at me before greeting Madame Zhou first. The tension Madame Zhou had been holding instantly shifted to Lady Li. Lady Li, such a grand display. You even woke later than the legal wife. Lady Li's eyes reddened immediately, her voice weak. Last night, I was caring for Hauer, hardly slept. She leaned lightly against Lu Zhao as she spoke. Classic green tea tactics, show weakness, highlight effort, subtly brag. Madame Zhou sneered. The child has a wet nurse, and maids to care for him. How could it tire you? She glanced at me while lecturing, clearly signaling, I'm making the household authority clear, so don't say the Lu family neglected you when visiting your natal home. I lowered my eyes, watching my tea, silent. A tiny workplace theater, a leader publicly scolding a favored subordinate, mostly performance for the newcomer. Lu Zhao remained silent, only tapping his fingers lightly on the arm of his chair. Once Madame Zhou finished lecturing, he stood. It's late. Time to depart. As we walked down the corridor, he slowed his pace to match mine. Did you sleep well last night, madam?
His voice was calm.
I smiled. Thanks to you, no one disturbed me. I slept through till morning. He glanced at me, a shadow flickering across his gaze. When the carriage approached the Qiao residence, I lifted the curtain to see the Lu estate gates receding behind us. Morning's family drama concluded. Next, time to show the old company the benefits of switching jobs. 6. The Lu family's return visit gifts nearly filled the entire hall. My parents' faces were radiant with smiles. Their eyes said clearly, our daughter married well. Meanwhile, my brother-in-law Zhao Kui sat on a cold bench, relying on his wife's family's poor connections, a mere scholar with nothing to his name. How could he compare to the prestigious and influential Lu Zhao? Father led the sons and sons-in-law into the study. Mother, as usual, fired her triple questions. Does the son-in-law treat you well? Is the concubine behaving herself? Is the mother-in-law kind? I answered flawlessly. He shows respect. He gave a warning last night, but at least handed over authority to the housekeeper. The concubine is proper. She misbehaved on the wedding night, yes, but that was all. The mother-in-law follows rules. Publicly, at least, it was acceptable. Mother nodded with satisfaction, then turned on my sister. How could I have been so blind to let you choose Zhao Kui? A mere scholar with no family wealth, no responsibility. What were you thinking? My sister's face went pale, only half a year in, and the light in her eyes had dimmed. She gripped her handkerchief. My husband treats me very well, Mother scoffed. Sweet words mean nothing. If he truly cared, would he let his mother torment you every day? Every time it's, my mother worked hard raising me, your mother worked hard raising you, you owe them? Are you the one indebted? I nearly clapped for her. Even ancient women understood. Mother-in-law and daughter-in-law conflicts often reveal the man's incompetence. My sister tried to hold her ground. Don't underestimate a young man who's poor. Mother slammed the table in fury. 7/10 of your dowry has already been consumed by his household. By the time he achieves anything, you'll be past your prime. He'll take concubines and favor new wives. Your lifelong dreams of just the two of you? Worthless. My sister bit her lip, silent. I wanted to say something, but the words caught in my throat. In this era, the paths for women are so narrow that even the smallest show of affection can be treated as a treasure. If I hadn't transmigrated, perhaps I too would clutch this toxic "love fills the belly" advice, drinking it until my heart broke. Footsteps came from outside. Father's laughter drew near. Mother immediately composed herself, regaining her dignified matriarch posture. I lowered my eyes, adjusting my sister's slightly rumpled collar.
See?
In this world, even a woman's grievances must be timed and armed.
7.
After the traditional return visit to her natal home, Lu Zhao's brief wedding leave was officially over. Walking at court sounds glamorous, but in reality, it's year-round, no breaks. The moment he returned home, he buried himself in the outer study, a place guarded not just by an iron lock, but with attendants watching day and night. I peeked from behind the screen wall, silently calculating. 2 personal attendants, 2 footmen, 1 small servant, 8 guards. A 4th-rank civil official able to secure a residence like this in the capital, maintain over 20 staff, plus the land and shops. This Lu household, poor gentry, is in a completely different league from our genuine humble beginnings.
Fine.
The husband's family has wealth and influence. At least my bed as the head wife could be softer. That night, Chun Tao helped me remove my hairpins and whispered, "Tonight, are you leaving the door open for master?" I stared at my still fresh face in the mirror, paused 3 beats. Logic said no. That metaphorical cucumber had already been used by a green tea schemer. My pride would take a hit. Reality said yes. Keep him outside for 2 consecutive nights, and tomorrow I could claim my insubordination bonus. Leave it open. I closed my eyes. Consider it submitting my loyalty card to the boss. Dirty?
Yes.
But tolerable. Workplace principle number 3. When core interests are at stake, personal cleanliness counts as an occupational hazard. Yet, the boss didn't come. The West Wing, however, was lively. Soft, coaxing voices floated through the night air, mingled with occasional clinking of porcelain. I stared at the embroidery on the canopy, the hundreds of children, thousands of descendants pattern, and laughed through gritted teeth. Lu Zhao handled this coldly, perfectly. No scolding, no punishment, just a silent, practical lesson. You are not yet qualified to sit at the table. Frustrating? Definitely. But more frustrating, this was the result of my own words last night. Each keeps their place. I'd thrown a stone at my own foot. Painful, yes, but I had to endure it. Turning over, I forced myself to self-soothe. Fine. No need to wake early to attend him at court tomorrow. I could sleep an extra half hour. At first light, the main courtyard was already stirring. Chun Tao rushed to lift the canopy. "Miss, get up. Madame Zhou has finished her morning preparations." I stared at the bedpost, my mind screaming. What kind of anti-human rule is this? The boss's mother is even harder to manage than the boss himself. Madame Zhou sat upright in the hall. All traces of yesterday's courtesy were gone. "Qiao Shi," she tapped the tea cover against the cup rim, her voice icy. "A married woman must conduct her morning and evening duties. Yet your husband is at court and you don't attend him. The morning meal isn't arranged according to Lu family rules. You haven't even thought of it? I lowered my head, standing quietly, rolling my eyes inwardly. Yesterday your son slept in the concubine's room, and today you blame me for not attending? Double standards, the hallmark of senior management. But on the surface, I kept the proper tone. Mother's instruction is received. Tomorrow I will rise early. Madame Zhou snorted coldly, her gaze flicking meaningfully toward the east wing. Men can be foolish at times. But if the head wife cannot even manage her own household, the joke will be on you. Understood. The unspoken rule of a leader's family. Your son misbehaves? That's his business. You can't manage the scene? That's your incompetence. Exiting the main courtyard, my legs trembled, partly from hunger, partly from standing stiffly under Madame Zhou's rules. Chun Tao supported me, her eyes red again. I patted her shoulder, lifted my head, and watched the sun rise to mid-sky. Today's KPI list: survive the boss's silent treatment, withstand the workplace pressure from the boss's family, keep observing the green tea colleagues scheming. The road to lying flat is long and full of obstacles. But it's fine. As long as the paycheck arrives on time, I can play this job to the bitter end. Now that our protagonist has started to assert herself, the stakes shift from subtle power plays to full-on household maneuvering. Watch closely. This is where office politics meets family drama, and every word, glance, and gesture becomes a negotiation of authority.
8.
Back in the East Wing, I nibbled the snacks Chun Tao left to keep my stomach settled, fuming over Madame Zhou's pressure. A mother-in-law setting rules for her daughter-in-law is natural?
Fine.
Then, as head wife, letting a concubine work is also ancestral law. I set down the snack. Go. Summon Li Yiren. Tell her my legs are sore. Li Yiren arrived quickly, clad in a simple, willow-like dress. I pointed at my legs. Your help is much appreciated, Li Yiren. The moment her fingertips touched mine, I hissed. Haven't eaten? Use some strength. All afternoon, the shoulder rubbing, leg massaging, tea-serving duties, the tension from the boss's family, I passed directly onto the subordinate. Very reasonable. As I guessed Lu Zhao would soon return, I was about to let Li Yiren rest when her body went limp. Plop. She fainted at my feet. Perfect timing. Lu Zhao's boot tip just crossed the threshold. His gaze swept over the pitiful Li Yiren on the floor, then landed on me. Ice crystallized in his eyes, forming pure, lethal intent. Xiao Shi. The words ground out through clenched teeth. My mind buzzed, but my hands moved faster than my brain. I grabbed the half-full cup of hot tea and splashed it. Master, don't rush. Li Yiren is pretending to faint. The tea hit precisely, filling her nostrils. She choked, coughing and gasping, unable to maintain the act, tears threatening to fall. Master, it's nothing to do with Madam. I just felt dizzy. Lu Zhao lifted her, his eyes locked on me. No maid in your room? Yet you put her through this? His voice was calm, but every word was a blade. If the head wife cannot even manage her own personal attendants, you might as well sell them and get a usable batch. I immediately adopted a tone of grievance. Master, you wrong me. This morning I stood 3 full hours before Mother under her rules. After returning, my shoulders ached, my back sore, so I asked Li Yiren to lend a hand. Who knew? I looked up, meaning clear. Mother instructed me to abide by women's duties. Letting the concubine assist is part of that. Could it be that the Lu household rules only apply to the legitimate wife? The air went cold. Lu Zhao's eyes narrowed, sharp as if dissecting a criminal case, cold, assessing. He understood. My roughing up of Li Yiren, my protest against Madame Zhou's control, was a reminder. Cooperation requires mutual adherence. If his mother broke the non-interference pact first, I would exercise my headwife authority, and he had no right to complain. After a long pause, a faint corner of his mouth tugged. Madam, you are sharp-tongued. He helped Li Yiren to her feet, but didn't glance at her again, turning to me. In that case, tomorrow I will exempt you from morning and evening duties. His eyes flicked to the tea stains on the floor. His tone betrayed no emotion. Li Yiren is weak. She needn't handle heavy chores in the future. He turned and left. Li Yiren hurried after him. Master, please tell mother, say I'm weak too. Lu Zhao didn't look back. He went straight to the main room. Chun Tao whispered, Miss, is master angry or not? I pinched a cold snack, bit into it. Angry, but the anger had dissipated. Yet a new irritation had arisen. I hadn't fully won this round, but at least the boss understood. This new project manager may be in a weak position, but she is not a soft target. Workplace rule number 4, you may have no leverage, but you must have the ability to flip the table when needed. Dinner was served in Madame Zhou's main room. Clearly Lu Zhao had intervened. Though she didn't force me to follow her morning routine, her face was frosty. No sooner had we sat than she remarked, sarcastic. New wives these days are as fragile as paper. You can't even touch them. I ladled some soup, looked up at Lu Zhao with a mild tone. Strange, isn't it? I was always strong back at my family. Yet here in the Lu household, merely attending mother for half a day, I nearly fainted, cold sweat soaking through my clothes. I placed the spoon on the bowl's rim, frowning as if puzzled. Could it be the house's feng shui? Madame Zhou slammed her chopsticks, nearly poking my nose. Sharp-tongued. Only for making you follow a rule for a brief moment, and you stir up trouble? If you refuse to serve me, just say so. I dabbed at my eyes with a handkerchief, voice soft but resolute. Mother wrongs me. I was raised to respect filial piety. It's not disobedience. Only this body fails me, and I am frightened. Madame Zhou trembled with fury, about to erupt, but Lu Zhao raised a hand to stop her. He slowly set down his chopsticks, letting his gaze sweep my face twice. Then, surprisingly, he smiled instead of scolding. Madam is right, he said evenly. It seems the feng shui of this main room conflicts with your energy. From now on, unless necessary, you needn't come here. Madame Zhou's expression darkened. Zhaoer, filial duty and propriety. Mother. Lu Zhao cut her off, his tone gentle yet heavy as 1,000 pounds. Since Jiao Shi is unwell, forcing her would violate the true meaning of filial duty. Morning and evening duties are temporarily exempted. I lowered my eyes, stirring the oil droplets in my soup. Very good. The boss had finally recognized reality. Rather than letting two women perform daily household drama under his eyes, it was better to define territories and let each be at peace. Madame Zhou's chest heaved violently, but she remained silent. Dinner proceeded in a hushed atmosphere. When the meal ended, Lu Zhao passed by me, pausing slightly. Madam, he said softly, so only I could hear. Feng shui comments, let's consider them an exception. I bowed, raising my eyes to meet his fathomless gaze, smiling. Madam will remember. Workplace insight number 5. Sometimes, the best way to handle troubles caused by a boss's family is to make the boss realize these issues also hinder his own work. After all, even the wisest boss cannot endure handling mother-in-law drama every day.
9.
3 months into marriage, Lu Zhao had not set foot in my room even once. Apart from that, all appearances were maintained, decorum intact, allowances untouched, nothing diminished. Madame Zhou treated me as most mothers-in-law in the world would. Every move of the daughter-in-law was suspect. I, however, regarded her as a senior member of the household. I didn't like her, but respect was unavoidable. The person who can neither help your rise nor destroy your path, such a person cannot be offended. Though Lu Zhao exempted me from morning and evening duties, I did not dare take it as carte blanche. Every noon, I went to the main house to pay respects, consulting the steward on minor matters or chatting about market news, performing all formalities while letting her feel needed. Sometimes, when seeking provocation, I would take her shopping, rouge, silk, jewelry. Eyes sharp, compliments flawless. Mother, this patterned fabric suits your grace perfectly. Outsiders will only praise the master for his filial diligence. If we appear shabby, it reflects poorly on the Lu household. Madame Zhou had been frugal all her life. At first, it hurt, but over months she grew accustomed. Appearance matters, Her scowl softened, and she even sighed. With someone so clever, why not soften a bit? Men always favor gentle, understanding women. I smiled politely. Yes, but continued my own way. Managing a household requires skill, not feminine charm. Project performance is never measured by who sleeps with whom. Li Yiren, however, was restless. Relying on Lu Zhao's exclusive favor, she often flaunted things before me. Master gave me this jeweled hairpin yesterday, saying it matches my complexion. At first, I ignored it, but as she grew bolder, I coldly reminded her. By imperial rules, all concubine property belongs to the head wife. If you have received something nice, why not submit it to the household treasury? Only then did she retreat slightly. Yet she schemed again, coaxing Lu Zhao to ask me for heirloom screens, inkstones, each exquisite. Her line, always the same. My luck is poor. I cannot avert my eyes from Madame's treasures. Lu Zhao even said, "You are the head wife. Generously let her have it, what harm?" I was unperturbed, smiling at him. The emperor granted you the hot spring estate. I've envied it long enough. Why not transfer it to me? Seeing his expression darken, I continued calmly. You are the head of the household. Generously granting it to me, what harm is there? Before he could reply, Li Yiren blurted. That was an imperial gift. Madame cannot demand it. I narrowed my eyes. I'm merely following your example. If it is a demand, then you should hide that greedy face. My gaze cut across her like a blade. My possessions, whether gifted or destroyed, are under my control. You, a concubine, should remember your place. Do not take the head wife's leniency as your license to overstep. Turning to Lu Zhao, I spoke clearly. You study the classics. A gentleman does not take what others cherish. In this world, no one has the right to teach another generosity. Li Yiren whimpered, leaning into Lu Zhao, tears falling like pearls. It is I who am useless, angering Madame. I cut her off with a cold laugh. If you enjoy acting, why not join a theater? Treat ignorance as dignity, favor as leverage, and the head wife's leniency as weakness. Enough. Still coveting my position as head wife, I faced Lu Zhao, resolute. If you feel I am in the way, write a letter of divorce. We part cleanly, each to our own peace. Li Yiren was like a bone-deep tumor. Tolerate her a little today, tomorrow she schemes deeper. While her wings are still weak, decisive measures must cut her madness. As for Lu Zhao, a court official, would he truly be so foolish? No, he was testing me to see how far I could push, how sharp my edge. Tonight, I would make clear. The Qiao daughter can yield, but she does not surrender without limits. Cooperation is possible, submission is not. Workplace survival rule. You may bow temporarily, but your spine must remain straight. Once bent, it cannot straighten again. Lu Zhao's gaze darkened like an abyss. Before he spoke, Li Yiren threw herself to the floor, wailing. Master, the life I risked to save you, all forgotten? Now, coveting a few of Madame's toys, I am treated this way. Had I known, I would have died at the entertainment house. Madame Zhou arrived, frowning. Zhaoer, Li Yiren once saved your life. Ah, the ultimate weapon of moral leverage, timeless. I observed the gloomy mother and son pair silently, inwardly amused. Loyalty is a virtue, but when twisted into a weakness, it binds you. Li Yiren, I said, voice clear, cutting through the room sobbing. Since you bring up life-saving favors, let's discuss them properly. I stepped forward, looking down at her. The master rescued you from the entertainment house, gave you concubine status, provided luxury, let you raise his eldest son at your knee. Has that repaid your debt? She blinked in shock, tears hanging on her lashes. If you think it is not repaid, I turned to Lu Zhao, words like nails. A life-saving favor should be returned with wealth, not incorporated into the household. Today she leverages gratitude for toys, tomorrow for position. Will she demand my head wife status next? Lu Zhao's knuckles whitened. My voice sharpened. Rewarding favors is no longer gentlemanly. Leveraging favors is villainous. Has the respect shown by the Lu household over the years not been enough? Must everyone obey her to fulfill gratitude? Every word struck like a blade, yet also voiced Lu Zhao's own suppressed frustrations. He suddenly rose, eyes gleaming sharply. Li Yiren.
She shivered.
From today, you are confined to the East Cross Wing for 3 months. Howard will temporarily move to the West Wing under a wet nurse's care. His voice cold, without a trace of warmth. If you dare leverage gratitude to cause trouble again. He paused, enunciating every word. The Lu household cannot tolerate the ungrateful. Li Yiren collapsed, her wailing silenced, leaving only deathly quiet. Madame Zhou opened her mouth, hesitated, then turned away. That night, Lu Zhao entered my room. By candlelight, he sat silently at the edge of the bed, finally saying, "Your words today, everyone makes sense." I, removing my hairpin, met his gaze in the mirror. "Master, you understood, but were trapped by the word gratitude." He tugged at the corner of his mouth, a bitter smile. The political arena can be navigated, but the household, wielded with emotion, is harder to guard against. So I turned to face him directly. Cut off gratitude when necessary. Silver and goods exchanged, cleanest resolution. He studied me for a long while, then reached out to brush stray hair from my temple. "Madam." From now on, the Lu household I entrust to you." I lowered my eyes, smiling. Workplace advancement rule. When a boss finally realizes certain favored individuals only drain team resources and hinder progress, that is when real authority begins. That night, the red candles burned untouched. Yet some boundaries had quietly been drawn.
10.
Though I had no desire to use my body to please the master, the effect of the bedside negotiations was undeniable. Lu Zhao entrusted several private properties to me for management. Goodness, the man truly had 3 safe burrows. No wonder so many resort to using charm. It's not just a shortcut, but an incredibly efficient one. The benefits from the master were generous, the returns immediate, and any minor bodily discomfort was easily outweighed by the authority he granted. After several nights staying in my room, Lu Zhao gradually handed me more properties to manage. The Western City Silk Shop, the Southern Gate Rice Store, and 2 rent-collecting courtyards. The ledgers and keys piled in a box, heavy in my hands. "Master's real estate is far more substantial than it appears," I said, flipping through the deeds with a wry smile. He stood by the window, glancing back. "Do you find it too much, madam?" "Far from it," I replied, locking the box. "Just a thought. Seduction may be a shortcut, but true household mastery is the long-term strategy." A faint smile flickered across his eyes. 3 days before the Mid-Autumn Festival, Lu Zhao arrived under cover of night. Zhao Shangshu's birthday banquet.
"You are to accompany me."
I lifted my head from the ledgers. "But the Zhao Shangshu, who receives such special attention from your excellency?" He was silent. I understood. This was the very superior who both intercepted Bing and Tanjing's assignments and constantly dispatched complicated, tedious tasks. "Rest assured, master," I closed the ledger. "Maintaining important connections is also part of my duty." This was a chance to demonstrate competence. I would go all out. Over 3 days, I used my contacts to uncover 7/10 of Madame Zhao's background. She loved reading popular folktales, particularly those with a suppress first, elevate later style. As a second wife, she was most sensitive to comparisons with the first wife, whose reputation and talent were widely known. Though skilled in management, she was often criticized as tainted by copper and silver. I had methods for dealing with a picky client. On the day of the banquet, I presented 2 gifts to the Zhao residents. 1. A personally inscribed folktale, What of Not Loving, written on parchment with sprinkled gold. The story's second wife heroine sees through romance to focus on profit, a subtle echo of the hidden pains of women in grand households. 2. A pair of jade earrings, crystal clear, but in a style 15 years old. Lu Zhao frowned. "This style is rather outdated." I smiled lightly. "That's the point. The old design triggers Madame Zhao's memories most easily." The flower hall at the Zhao residence was awash in jewels. Madame Zhao sat at the main seat, receiving flattery, but her smile didn't reach her eyes until she opened the first gift. Fingers brushing the folktale cover, she paused. Asterisk, what of not loving? A new tale? Madame has a keen eye, I said softly. I enjoy reading folktales in my spare time. This one seemed particularly novel and well-crafted, so I thought to recommend it. She read the opening lines. A sudden light sparked in her eyes. The author strikes directly at the heart. Who is it? The essence of modern short fiction applied to a historical noblewoman. Utterly disarming. I lowered my gaze. An anonymous author, leaving more room for imagination. After a moment, she reluctantly closed the book and studied me. Lady Lu, you are thoughtful. Then I presented the earrings. She froze, lifting them to examine closely, eyes misting. This style. I had a nearly identical pair in my dowry. One broke last year. I folded my sleeves and sighed softly. Fate seems to have intervened. I spotted these at Jinlong Pavilion and felt they were meant to complete your keepsake. Several ladies at the table murmured in agreement. Madame Zhao clenched the earrings. Her gaze softened completely. As the banquet reached its peak, a certain Mrs. Yang accidentally mentioned Zhao Shangshu's first wife, a talented eldest sister, always a thorn in Madame Zhao's heart. I raised my cup, smiling. Mrs. Yang, how coincidental. Like Madame Zhao, I am no poet. Does that mean those without poetic skill are unworthy of life? Feigning realization, I added. Madame Zhao so fondly remembers the late first wife. Surely she was talented. Perhaps an impromptu poem would enlighten us? Mrs. Yang reddened. The tension in Madame Zhao's brow eased. Mrs. Yang persisted, muttering that Madame Zhao was tainted by copper and silver. I was almost grateful for the opportunity she provided. My husband often says, managing a household is like governing a state. Only with clear accounts can it endure, I said softly, each word precise. Madame Zhao, you excel in commerce, ensuring goods flow, people prosper, and the family flourishes. Such practical talent commands respect, not copper and silver. I thus preserve the Zhao family's dignity while reframing commerce as a public virtue. I continued. I, though simple-born, wish to learn household management to supplement family income. I hope Madame Zhao will generously guide me. She studied me deeply, then drank her cup in full. 11 to 12. On the carriage ride back to the mansion, Lu Zhao closed his eyes to rest. After a long pause, he spoke. At the end of the banquet, Zhao Shangshu asked me whether Madame Lu often visits the residence. I smiled knowingly. And how did you respond, master? A faint smile tugged at the corner of his lips. I told him, my wife is delicate and should not visit frequently. Yet if she does not mind, she may come to my humble home to listen to music and enjoy tea. Brilliant. Retreating while advancing, subtly implying, my wife is not one to be easily summoned. I inclined my head. You have considered everything, sir. Careful restraint and valuing one's health are marks of true worth. Suddenly, he leaned forward, his fingers lifting my chin. The carriage swayed lightly, his breath brushing my forehead. Madam, these tactics of yours, where did you learn them? I met his fathomless gaze with a slight curve of my lips. I only dare negotiate terms with your excellency, because I have the means to back them up. For example, I've gained some insight handling the ladies of various households. Treating the wives of officials as clients, I was professional. 3 days later, I delivered an invitation to the Zhao residence. Madame Zhao quickly responded, inviting me to admire chrysanthemums and taste tea. She held the folktale in her hands, unable to put it down. I read it all in one night. It truly touched me. I took the opportunity to gently advise through the story. Life is never easy for women. Why be trapped by others' opinions? Everyone has their own path. Talented women their elegance. We are practicality. Finding joy in our own way is the best. Madame Zhao nodded repeatedly. Listening to you, I feel so enlightened. At parting, she grasped my hand. Come often. If Master Lu encounters difficulties at the office, speak freely. That night, Lu Zhao returned home early, bringing news. The long-pending Jiangnan Canal transport case had been approved by Zhao Shongshu. He pushed a property deed across the desk. Suburban hot spring villa, he said plainly. Madam often remarks that the house feels stifling. When you have free time, go stretch your limbs. I took the deed, blinking. Is this the reward for merit? Lu Zhao, surprisingly, did not contradict the phrasing. By candlelight, he stood silently for a long moment before saying in a low voice, "The daughter of Vice Minister Huang from the Ministry of Works. Madam, see if you can cultivate a relationship with her." I clenched the deed, smiling lightly. Understood. The first stage of cooperation had been highly successful. At the Lu residence, I had secured my footing without relying on offspring. Leveraging the pretense of seeking guidance on commerce via the folktale, my interactions with Madame Zhao grew steadily closer. I could now present myself at nearly every household of influential civil officials. Though not friends, I was no longer a stranger. Lu Zhao's access to Zhao Shongshu's channels gradually improved, and our household business gained a solid foundation. The Lu estates, like spring trees, flourished before my eyes. Naturally, I became busier. By day, I audited accounts and oversaw shopkeepers attending tea gatherings. By night, I managed the internal household ledgers. Lu Zhao, unlike many officials, was pragmatic. Fully aware of the importance of money, he not only did not hinder my commerce, but would assign capable clerks from his office to assist when manpower was short. "Madam, if you need staff, speak freely," he said as he assigned a steward named Lu to me, his tone neutral. "One rule: keep accounts clear, work clean." I smiled in agreement. Leaders from humble beginnings were always practical. When Li's house arrest ended, she exhausted all tricks to regain Lu Zhao's attention, feigning illness, acting weak, even attempting to frame me for mistreatment. But she forgot. The authority over the inner residence was now in my hands. She pretended to be sick, so I confined her personal maid nearby and interrogated her in court. Within half a day, someone cracked under pressure and revealed the truth. Li had feigned weakness and complaints, yet Lu Zhao's duties kept him busy at the office, often staying overnight. Initially, he would offer a few words of comfort, but as it continued, his voice grew cold. "If you suspect the mistress harms you so often, perhaps move to the temple to rest." Li was terrified, no longer daring to hint at my fault. I observed her tantrums with cool detachment before calling her over. "Men's affection is like morning dew," I said, stirring tea, calm in tone. "You expend all this effort competing for it. Better to consider what will sustain you over the decades." She knelt, eyes misty. "You can read. You can calculate." I pushed a stack of ledgers toward her. "From today onward, reconcile these shop accounts for me. Do it well, and there will be rewards. 'Cause trouble, and—" I lifted my gaze, eyes sharp as a blade. Even though the quiet hall is filled with young girls, one more or one less makes no difference. Dealing with underperforming, troublesome subordinates, better to give them ample work than to fire them. They'll be too busy to cause chaos. I soften my tone. What you fear is losing favor or support. But if you work properly, the Lu household will not withhold your livelihood, nor will I make things difficult. When I bear my legitimate son, I will advise Master to visit your quarters more often." She raised her head sharply. "Raising someone else's child is like a thin veil," I continued, voice low, as if confiding. "Blood of your own is the only reliable kind. Don't you also hope for your own children someday?" Li's eyes flashed intensely before she bowed her head. "I understand." That night, Lu Zhao returned unusually early. Hearing my arrangements for Li, he raised an eyebrow. "You're good at using people. Even the useless can be repurposed, especially when literate and numerate," I said, easing his official robe. "Better than leaving her idle to stir trouble." He turned to me, eyes deep. "Madam, what exactly are you aiming for?" I smiled. "Peace of mind and longevity." I hung his robe neatly. You, being clever, know that a stable household ensures no worries. If Li works properly, it benefits you, me, and the Lu family. He remained silent for a long moment, then drew me close. Breath against my ear, voice low and husky. And you? What is your long-term? I leaned on his shoulder, gazing at the moon rising full outside the window. What I want is that even if affection fades and benefits vanish, Qiao Yue, can still stand in this residence and speak freely. His arm tightened. You will have it, he said after a long pause. Your legitimate son will have it, authority will have it, respect will have it. I closed my eyes. Love is fleeting, wealth comes and goes. Only power and money in one's hands, and children of one's own blood, form the hardest leverage in this vast household. At month's end, auditing accounts, Li submitted her ledgers surprisingly neat. I awarded her 10 taels. Well done. She held the silver, lips trembling, then suddenly knelt. Madam, I was foolish before. The past need not be mentioned, I said, helping her up. Dear, work properly from now on. I will not treat you unfairly. She nodded deeply, eyes red. As I left the account room, Chun Tao whispered, Miss, do you really trust she's changed? I looked at the ginkgo turning golden in the courtyard. Whether I trust her is not important, I said. What matters is she knows. Follow me, and you'll have reward. Human nature seeks gain. That's eternal. Autumn sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled light and shadow. This game, at last, was gradually taking the shape I desired. Sometimes in life, the quietest victories speak the loudest. Even amid celebrations and appearances, the real power lies in what you hold, what you protect, and what others don't see. Let's return to Qiao Yue's story, where motherhood and strategy intertwine in the Lu household. 13. Heaven has not treated me poorly. In the second winter after marrying into the Lu family, I safely gave birth to my legitimate son. On the day of the San Li ceremony, my mother, along with my elder sister and sister-in-law, came to visit. Madame Zhou welcomed them graciously, her warmth complete, presenting a certain image of the dutiful mother-in-law and obedient daughter-in-law. Li, attending the medicinal broth at the bedside, lowered her head and stepped aside upon seeing the guests. My mother cast her a sharp glance. Once the room contained only our family, she frowned and softly rebuked. You are far too lenient, allowing a concubine to serve so closely. I leaned against the soft pillows, smiling faintly. No matter. I had already told her to pause the avoidance decoction during my safe delivery. My fingers brushed the fine soft hair of my infant. If anything were amiss with my child, Master's rooms would soon hold a few more newcomers. She understands how to choose. Mother's expression eased slightly, nodding in approval. You have a clear head. Her gaze then turned to my elder sister, voice sharpening. Look at your younger sister. Young, yet so perceptive. Unlike you, married to a poor scholar, completely at the mercy of him. Dowry spent, maid in bed, now even a concubine dares to vex you. Sister had been married to Zhao Kuo for 4 years, bearing 2 children in 3, yet her health was fragile as paper. Her dowry had long been exhausted by the Zhao household. The former personal maid had become the favored concubine, ironically appearing more dignified than she, the mistress. Mother grew increasingly agitated. Your father is at least a 4th-rank official, yet you let a declining household ride roughshod over you, while I and your sister-in-law must repeatedly intervene at the Zhao home. Mother, I gently interrupted, do not fully blame sister. She is kind-hearted. How could she know whether the one beside her is human or ghost? The poorer the family, the more they will trample upon you. From the corner of my eye, I caught sister's fist clenching beneath her sleeve, knuckles whitening. I shifted my tone, sighing. Do not only look at my present glory. The inner suffering is known only to oneself. My voice softened, almost choked with emotion. Leah's caused trouble before. The mother-in-law set rules that left me on the brink of collapse, and Master once neglected me for 3 whole months. Listing each hardship, my eyes glistened at the right moment. Mother was startled. Sister-in-law kept offering words of comfort. My elder sister slowly lifted her gaze, the ice of jealousy in her eyes melting into a complex mixture, surprise, schadenfreude, and even a hint of sympathetic relief. I lowered my eyes. Rule of survival in any hierarchy. Strategically exposing vulnerability can neutralize latent hostility. After all, everyone likes to see those in the spotlight also wade through mud. It's fair, it's reassuring. Outside, snow fell silently. The infant in my arms suddenly cooed, tiny fists waving. I bent to kiss his forehead, lifting my gaze with a calm, gentle smile. It's good that it's all behind us now. The days ahead will only grow better. I spoke these words both to them and to myself. At the full-month banquet, guests filled the halls, gifts piling across 3 storage rooms. Mother looked over the crowd of distinguished guests, a mix of sentiment and relief. Someone earlier tried to gift my son a favored concubine, yet he declined decisively. She lowered her voice. When you first chose him, I worried. Now I see, he is more courteous and rule-abiding than Zhao Kuo ever was. I smiled faintly, knowing full well that rules are made for those who abide by them. To make those in power follow rules, they must understand the cost of breaking them. Late at night, when the guests had gone, Lu Zhao returned, slightly inebriated. I helped him undress, then casually mentioned a few rumors overheard during the banquet, an official's household secrets, a minister's marital entanglements. Though framed as small talk, these hints contained subtle courtly threads. His drunken haze gradually cleared, eyes focused as he listened. Finally, he sighed. Had it not been for your advice, I might have misjudged the situation. I took the sobering broth offered by a maid, speaking softly. You worked hard for the state. I should attend to the household in return. Pausing, I added casually. By the way, the gift from the Ministry of Rights today, you handled that perfectly. By candlelight, he suddenly lifted his eyes, fixing them on me. But everyone says I fear my wife. I stirred the broth gently, a soft smile playing on my lips. A stable household ensures a smooth path ahead. You, being clever, know that beauty is easily obtained, but it is a blade that cuts to the bone. He was silent for a moment, then reached through the curling steam to lift my face. Fingers cool, gaze burning. Qiao Yue. He called my given name for the first time, voice low. In all this festive celebration, is even a part of it truly for my happiness? I met his stare, lifting the cup to his lips, smiling with gentle composure. Master, true affection is like morning dew, clear and fleeting, gone in sunlight. I peered into his deep, fathomless eyes through the rising steam. Awake, a man wields the sword. Drunk, he reclines on beauty's lap. Pleasure is found there, yet beauty and power rarely coexist. I paused, lowering my voice further. Do you desire the clouded path, or that tender blade that harms as it comforts? He stared silently, saying, Why look elsewhere, madam? I am asking for the husband's truth. Master, I replied with a faint smile. The cheapest bride price in this world is affection. What I seek is power I can hold, respect, and enduring stability. He froze, eyes darkening abruptly, gently loosening his grip on my chin. With my guidance, he drank the tea, letting out a low laugh. You are always this lucid. Yet his smile never reached his eyes. Only a deep, tranquil abyss remained. He turned toward the bed, back straight and solitary under the candlelight. I often thought later, his shadowed stillness was perhaps not for me at all. It was the sudden realization that the strongest alliances in this world often begin with sober calculation, not foolish infatuation. And I would rather hold tangible, clear gains in my hand than grasp at fragile, illusory love. In this deep household, bureaucracy and intrigue, the former guarantees a lifetime of stability. The latter could drag one into ruin. What a night! From this wedding scene, we see how cunning and strategic she really is, turning a vulnerable position into power. It's not just romance. It's about survival, negotiation, and knowing exactly when to fight. I love how she balances strength with wit. If you were in her shoes, how would you handle the mistress on your wedding night? Let me know in the comments.